This is a true life story that happened in Lagos, Nigeria. For weeks, Solomon has watched his wife, yet he's not the one touching her. The clock struck 1 a.m. again, but this time, Solomon was ready. He had vowed to confront whatever comes to his wife at night, even if it costs him his life. Tonight, the spirit husband will face the man who paid the bride price. But what happens next will make you question everything you believe about the spirit world. The house was silent. Only the sound of the ticking wall clock echoed through the bedroom. Solomon sat on the edge of the bed, his heart pounding, eyes fixed on the clock. 12:57 a.m., 12:58 a.m., 12:59 a.m. He clenched his fists tightly. Tonight, he was not going to sleep. Tonight, he was going to see with his own eyes what had been tormenting his marriage. The clock struck 1 a.m. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped. A cold wind blew through the tightly closed window. Bola turned on the bed, whispering something under her breath. Solomon's eyes widened as he saw a shadowy figure form beside his wife. The figure glowed faintly, its face handsome yet terrifying, eyes burning like fire. The spirit husband lay beside Bola as if Solomon didn't exist. Then, with supernatural strength, it grabbed Solomon by the chest and threw him to the floor. "Leave her," Solomon shouted, struggling to stand. But his voice trembled as the figure turned to him and said, "She was mine before she became yours." The room filled with whispers, voices only spirits could understand. Solomon reached for his Bible, shouting prayers, but the spirit only laughed. At that moment, Bola opened her eyes, but her pupils were white. Her voice was no longer hers. "Solomon, don't fight him, please," she said weakly. Then the light bulb flickered and exploded. Darkness, whispers, a terrifying revelation about Bola's past began to unfold. Bola's breathing deepened. A soft, dread-filled moan escaped her lips as if she were somewhere far away. Somewhere the bedroom could not reach. The sound cut through Solomon like a blade. Solomon scrambled to his feet, every muscle ready to fight. His hands trembled, not with doubt now, but with a fierce, hot anger. He stepped closer to the bed, eyes fixed on the shadow that lay beside his wife. The figure lifted its head slowly, its face calm as if waking from a pleasant thought. It watched Solomon with an unreadable expression, then smiled, a smile that made the room colder. "You don't scare me," the spirit said, its voice low and even, echoing as if coming from many mouths. "She was betrothed to me before the earth knew her name." Solomon's chest tightened. "Betrothed? By who? By what right?" he shouted, his voice cracking as he tried to steady himself. "I paid her bride price. I am her husband." The spirit's eyes burned. "When next you challenge me," it warned softly, "it may be your end." For a moment the words hung in the air heavy as iron. Then, with an almost casual tilt of its head, it added, "Because I love Bola, my wife, I will not harm you tonight." Solomon felt a cold rage and a cold relief at the same time. "You call this love," he spat. "You come and steal my nights, my peace, and call it love?" His knuckles whitened around the edge of the bed. The spirit's gaze never left Bola. "You do not understand a covenant older than your promises," it said. "Still, I am not ready to spill your blood. For now." The shadow shivered with something like amusement. Bola shifted, her eyes fluttered open. For a second she looked at Solomon, confusion clouding her face as if waking from a faraway place. Her voice was small when she whispered, "Solomon, please." There was no anger in her, only a tired sorrow. The spirit rose then, its form stretching like smoke into the darker corners of the room. It leaned toward Solomon one last time, as though that closeness would teach him humility. "Remember my warning," it said. "Love me with respect, and she will keep you in the daylight. Cross me, and you will learn the price of a broken covenant." With that, the shadow recoiled as if stung, and in a rush of wind and the smell of distant tides, it vanished, gone as suddenly as it had come, leaving the bed hollow and the air raw. Solomon stood there with tears. He did not understand. The clock on the wall ticked past 1:10 a.m. The mattress beside Bola sagged, as if someone invisible had just left it. He reached for her hand, desperate for proof she was real, that he was not the only one awake in this nightmare. Bola opened her eyes fully, and when she saw Solomon's face, she wept quietly. "I'm sorry," she whispered, but the apology was for something neither of them could name completely. Outside, a far-off car alarm wailed into the night. Inside, a new, colder truth settled between them. They were married in daylight, but something else had married her in the dark, and that thing had just warned the man who paid her bride price to stand down. The night ended not with resolution, but with a promise that the real battle was yet to come. The next morning, the sun streamed through the curtains as if trying to wash away the darkness of the night before. But no amount of sunlight could touch the heaviness that lingered in the room. Bola moved quietly around the bedroom, adjusting her wrapper, pretending to look for something on the dresser. Her hands trembled slightly. Solomon sat on the edge of the bed, his head bowed, eyes dark with sleeplessness and pain. Finally, he spoke, his voice low but sharp. "Bola," he said, "I saw the way you were enjoying your husband last night." She froze. The words hit her like a curse. What do you mean?" she stammered, forcing a weak smile that faded before it even began. Solomon looked up at her, his eyes full of something between anger and heartbreak. "Don't play dumb with me. I saw how you were moaning, how you were enjoying it. When I touch you, you don't react that way. You don't moan. You just lie there like you're somewhere else." He rose to his feet now, his chest rising with deep, uneven breaths. "Tell me, Bola, is the spirit husband better than me?" Bola's lips parted, but no sound came. Tears welled in her eyes. She wished she could tell him what she truly felt, that sometimes she woke up trembling, that she didn't invite what happened, that she didn't even understand it. But how could she explain a love she never agreed to, a marriage she never signed? "Solomon, please," she whispered finally. "It's not what you think." He laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "Not what I think. You were moaning like a woman lost in pleasure, Bola. I may not see who he is, but I know someone was with you." She reached for his arm, but he stepped back, his eyes wet. "You've brought shame into this house," he muttered. At that moment, the air in the room grew strangely heavy again. The curtain by the window moved though there was no wind. A faint scent, the same one Solomon noticed the night before, filled the room. Bola felt her knees weaken. Her lips trembled. She knew. He was there, the spirit husband, watching, listening, smiling at the chaos he had sown. She wanted to scream, but fear held her captive. Solomon turned away, running a hand through his hair in frustration, unaware that the unseen presence lingered behind him, pleased with the misunderstanding it had caused. Bola could only whisper under her breath, "Please leave us alone." But her plea vanished into the still air. For the first time since the haunting began, she realized the spirit did not just want her body. He wanted to destroy everything that made her human, everything that connected her to Solomon. That morning, Bola could barely concentrate at work. Her head pounded, her eyes red from crying all night. The words Solomon said kept replaying in her mind. "Is the spirit husband better than me?" By noon, she couldn't take it anymore. She rose from her desk and walked straight to Mrs. Adetutu's office, the woman everyone in the company respected for her quiet strength and wisdom. Mrs. Adetutu looked up when Bola walked in. "My dear, you look troubled." "Sit down," she said softly. Bola sat and immediately broke down in tears. "Ma," she sobbed, "my home is turning upside down. My husband barely talks to me anymore. Every night something strange happens. I don't even know who to talk to again. Please help me." Mrs. Adetutu handed her a handkerchief and waited quietly until Bola caught her breath. Then, in a calm but serious tone, she said, "Bola, I've been waiting for this day. I knew you would come." Bola looked up sharply, confusion written on her face. "You knew? How, ma?" Mrs. Adetutu leaned back in her chair, her eyes deep and knowing. "Because I have seen things others cannot see. From the very first day you joined this company, I noticed a presence around you. A man that isn't of this world." Bola's lips trembled. "A man?" "Yes," Mrs. Adetutu continued. "A spirit husband. He stands behind you everywhere you go. He watches you, protects you, controls your life, and he gets angry whenever another man comes close." Bola's heart skipped. It's true, all the strange things happening, the dreams, the nightmares, even my husband sleeping on the floor. It's all because of him? Mrs. Adetutu nodded slowly. Yes, my dear. He calls you his wife, and he won't let anyone else have peace with you. But there's something deeper about your case, Bola. This isn't just ordinary. There's a covenant involved. Bola's voice shook. Covenant? I don't understand. Please, what covenant? Mrs. Adetutu looked at her with pity. You were dedicated to him before you were even born. Bola froze. Her heartbeat raced. Before I was born? Yes, Mrs. Adetutu said quietly. Your mother's desperation for a child opened a door that should never have been opened. Bola buried her face in her palms, tears flowing again. No wonder my life has been like this, she whispered. Mrs. Adetutu placed her hand on Bola's shoulder. Don't lose hope. There's still a way out, but it won't be easy. The spirit husband won't let go without a fight. Bola lifted her head slowly, eyes wide with fear. What do I have to do? Mrs. Adetutu sighed deeply. You must be ready to face him, not in your dreams, but in the real world. If we start this battle, there's no turning back. Outside, thunder rumbled though the Lagos sky was clear. The light flickered. A cold breeze swept through the office, sending papers fluttering. Bola clutched her chest. She knew he was near. The spirit husband had heard every word. That night, Mrs. Adetutu slept uneasy, the memory of her conversation with Bola still fresh. Her room was quiet, but the air felt thick, as if the city itself held its breath. Around midnight, she dreamed. At first, the dream was simple. She stood in an empty courtyard under a full moon, the wind whispering through dry grass. Then, from the shadows, a figure formed, tall, dark, and terrible in its ease. The spirit husband's voice came without movement, low and cold as riverbed stone. Stay away from a matter that does not concern you. Adetutu's heart hammered, but she did not move. The figure stepped closer, its presence folding the moonlight into deeper black. I like the way you told her that her mother gave her to me, it said slowly, tasting each word like a promise. So nobody on earth can take Bola away from me. The shadow spoke of bargains, as if reciting law. Her mother gave her to me in exchange for barrenness, and I gave her 5 children. Is it too much for me to take one of the 5 children and make my wife? The voice curled like smoke and left no warmth. Adetutu swallowed. The terror in the figure's next words froze her blood. Stay away from this, it hissed. Because if you don't stay away, I will kill you, kill your husband, kill your mother, and everything that is important to you. I will take them all. The dream sharpened, cruel and precise. In case you don't know me, go and ask me from your mother Adunni, the spirit said with a cruel twist of familiarity. She will tell you who I am. But before I deal with you, I will report you to your mother first. Then, as if to teach a lesson rather than only to threaten, the spirit made a parable, voice low, patient, as if instructing a child. A baby hen does not know the hawk. It is the mother hen that knows the hawk. The words hung in the night like a bell tolling doom. Mrs. Adetutu felt something like cold claws at the back of her mind. The parable landed on her like an accusation. The danger would be recognized not by the helpless, but by those who gave them life. For a long moment, the courtyard breathed silence. The shadow leaned close and whispered, "Stay away from my business." Then, with a gust that smelled of salt and old water, the figure receded until it was no more than a shadow of a shadow, and then nothing. Mrs. Adetutu woke with a suddenness that knocked the breath from her. Her pillow was damp with sweat. The clock read the small hours, but the room had not the softness of sleep, only the raw, ringing echo of the threat. She sat up, hands trembling. The words of the spirit spun in her head. The bargain, the 5 children, the hen and the hawk. She pressed her palms to her eyes and whispered a prayer she had not intended to speak aloud. Outside, Lagos breathed on, indifferent and enormous. Inside, Mrs. Adetutu understood what the spirit had promised. The battle for Bola would not be fought with words alone, and by morning she already felt the weight of the choice she had made. The following morning, Mrs. Adetutu sat quietly at the edge of her bed, her eyes heavy from the night's haunting. The sun had barely risen when her phone began to ring. The name on the screen made her heart skip. Mama. She hesitated before answering. Good morning, Mama, she said softly, trying to sound calm. But her mother's voice came sharp, worried, and full of knowing. Adetutu, what are you trying to do? Adetutu froze. Mama? What do you mean? Her mother sighed, deeply on the other end of the line. Don't play innocent with me, my daughter. You think I wouldn't know? The spirit husband came to me last night. Adetutu gasped. He came to you? Yes, her mother snapped. He came in anger. He warned me to tell you to stay away from what does not concern you. He said if you continue to interfere, he will strike everything around you. Adetutu's hand trembled. Mama, he threatened me too. He said he would kill you, my husband. I know. Adunni interrupted. That spirit has spiritual legal backing, Adetutu. He's not just an ordinary wandering soul. He is ancestral. He came through a covenant sealed by blood and desperation. You can't fight him like this. Tears filled Adetutu's eyes. But Mama, Bola is suffering. Her home is falling apart. The spirit calls her his wife. Should I just fold my arms and do nothing? Adunni's voice softened slightly, carrying both fear and authority. My daughter, some battles are not for everyone. Spirit husbands are not like the demons you cast out in prayer houses. They are spirits of lineage, spirits that hold legal claims over the souls of their victims. There was a heavy silence on the line before Adunni added in a low voice. He asked me one question last night. Or does your daughter want to marry me too? Adetutu's breath caught. Mama, he said that. Yes, Adunni replied bitterly. He mocked me. He said since you want to help his wife, maybe he should take you as his second. Adetutu, please stay away. Don't provoke what you cannot see. For a moment, neither mother nor daughter spoke. The hum of Lagos traffic in the distance felt far away, muted beneath the weight of the unseen. Adetutu finally whispered, Mama, if we all keep quiet, then who will deliver her? Her mother sighed again, her voice breaking slightly. Pray for wisdom, my daughter. Some rescues bring death, not deliverance. Don't make yourself the next offering. The line went silent. Adetutu sat still, phone pressed to her chest, the spirit's words echoing in her mind. A baby hen does not know the hawk. It is the mother hen that knows the hawk. She now understood. Her mother knew this hawk too well. The next morning, Mrs. Adetutu arrived at work unusually early. Her face looked pale, her eyes heavy from a night of restless thoughts. The weight of her mother's warning still sat heavily on her chest. She walked straight to the HR department and quietly submitted her leave form. 3 months, enough time, she hoped, to put distance between herself and whatever shadow now watched her life. As she walked back to her office, her heart ached. She couldn't leave without saying goodbye to Bola. Moments later, Bola stepped into her office with a bright, unsuspecting smile. Good morning, Ma. I heard you wanted to see me. Mrs. Adetutu nodded slowly. Her lips trembled as she struggled to find words. Yes, Bola. Please sit. Bola sat down, worry flickering across her face. Ma, is everything all right? Adetutu looked at her and sighed deeply. Bola, I applied for 3 months leave. I'm traveling. Bola's eyes widened. Traveling? But why? You said you were going to help me. Tears welled in Adetutu's eyes. My dear, I love you. But you must never love anyone more than yourself. Your spirit husband came to warn me to stay away from you. Bola froze. He came to you? Yes, Adetutu said, her voice shaking. And not just to me. He went to my mother too. My mother told me what I was up against. You see, my mother, Aya Osa, comes from a long line of priests, people who serve gods and speak with spirits. Everyone born into our family carries that sight. That's why I could see him, the spirit that follows you. Bola's eyes filled with tears. So it's true then. Everything I've been feeling, everything Solomon said. Adetutu nodded. It's true, but I can't fight him for you. His roots are too deep. You have to face him yourself to see where it all began. She reached into her drawer and brought out a small calabash covered with white cloth. Inside was a tiny clay cup filled with clear water that shimmered faintly, as though the light itself bent toward it. Adetutu handed it to Bola carefully. Take this, she said softly. When you want to sleep tonight, drink a little from it and use the rest to wash your face. Bola looked at the water, trembling. What will happen if I do? Adetutu's eyes darkened. You will see him, not in your dream, but in his world. And you will finally know how you came across him. The office felt colder. The hum of the ceiling fan seemed to fade away. Bola held the calabash close, her fingers shaking. Adetutu whispered, Be strong, Bola. Once you open that door tonight, there will be no going back. Bola swallowed hard and nodded, her voice barely a whisper. Thank you, Ma. As Adetutu watched Bola walk out of her office, a single tear slipped down her cheek. She knew she might have just handed Bola the key, not only to the truth, but possibly to her own destruction. And as Bola walked away, the invisible spirit followed quietly behind her, smiling, because the night was coming and at 1 a.m., she would finally enter his world. That night the apartment felt smaller, as if the walls were leaning in to listen. Bola held the little calabash close, the water trembling like a captured moon. Solomon watched her from the doorway, curiosity and dread written across his face. When Bola left the room to wash her face, Solomon's feet moved before his mind could stop them. He found the calabash on the dressing table, and though he didn't know why, his spirit pushed him to drink the remaining water. It tasted of nothing and everything, cool, faintly of sea salt and memory. They did not talk about it. Not an hour later, both of them slept, not the tired, ordinary sleep of the weary, but a deep, other kind of sleep that felt like falling through glass into a place that was almost real. They stood then, together in a place between breath and shadow. The air smelled of lilies and smoke. The ground beneath them felt soft as river mud. And from the dark, he came, tall, handsome and terrible in his softness. He walked toward them with the easy confidence of a man who knew the road by heart. His face was beautiful enough to make the breath catch. His eyes held a sorrow that cut deeper than anger. Bola, he said, his voice a low music that shivered through the space. My wife, I love you. Bola stepped back as if struck. Her voice broke into a cry. No, she cried, shaking her head. I don't love you. He smiled then, a slow, pained thing that made the air colder. Ha, he said softly. You just broke my heart, but I love you. His words were both complaint and prayer. Bola's knees trembled as she stared at him. Why are you disturbing my life? She demanded, pain and fury braided together. You don't allow me to enjoy my life. You take everything, my sleep, my peace, my husband. For a long breath the spirit looked at her, and something like regret passed over his face. Then, without another word, the world itself seemed to lean toward his sorrow, and the scene began to fold, as if the dream could not hold both claim and answer at once. The spirit husband's eyes darkened, his voice now slow and steady like a distant drum. Your mother gave you to me, Bola, he said, each word heavy with truth. Even before you were born, she promised you in exchange for the fruit of her womb. She was barren, and I gave her 5 children. He stepped closer, his form shimmering in the dim light of the dream. Don't you see? Out of the 5 children, you are the most successful. Because I love you more than all of them. I gave you peace of mind. I gave you wealth. I gave you favor. Even your husband, he paused, smiling faintly. I gave him to you. Bola's chest tightened, her breathing shallow. What do you mean you gave me all these things? She snapped. Everything I have, I worked hard for. I earned my success by my strength, not by your help. The spirit husband threw back his head and laughed, the sound echoing like thunder across the unseen realm. You don't know anything, he said with a mix of pity and pride. I work behind the scenes for you. I make people love you. I harm those who wish to harm you. He moved closer, his gaze burning through her. Do you remember when you were kidnapped? He asked. Who do you think saved you that day? Bola's lips parted in confusion, the memory flashing in her mind. The night she escaped unharmed, though all odds were against her. When your lecturer wanted to take advantage of you, the spirit continued. Who made him fall ill for months? Who silenced him forever? Bola trembled, tears blurring her vision. You did that, she whispered. He nodded. Even Tosin, your colleague, he said coldly. Do you wonder why she lost her job? It was because she envied you. I couldn't stand anyone bringing pain into your life. Then he turned toward Solomon, who stood frozen beside Bola, pale and shaking. And your husband, Solomon, the spirit said, his tone softening. I made him love you. I could have killed him, but I saw that he is faithful. He never cheated on you. That is why I let him live, because I don't want you to be lonely on earth. Bola's eyes widened in terror as the spirit husband's voice thundered through the dream realm. You are going to bear 24 children for me, he declared, his tone final and unyielding. And now, you have only given birth to 3. Her lips trembled, her heart pounding so fast she could barely breathe. No, that can't be true, she cried, her voice cracking. I can't belong to you. I'm a married woman. I have a husband. The spirit husband's eyes glowed brighter, his aura filling the entire space with heat and darkness at once. I am your first husband, he said with deep authority. Before Solomon ever laid eyes on you, you belong to me. And until the 24th child is born, you will never conceive another earthly child. You may try, you may cry, you may fast and pray, but no man's seed will bear fruit in you until my covenant is fulfilled. Solomon stood beside her, trembling uncontrollably. He could hear every word clearly now. His eyes darted from Bola to the spirit husband. What are you saying? Solomon shouted. You're lying. Bola is my wife, not yours. The spirit husband turned slowly, his piercing gaze landing on Solomon. You, he said mockingly. You are nothing but a temporary caretaker of what is mine. I allow you to live because I love her. If not, you would have been dust long ago. Bola screamed, clutching Solomon's arm. Solomon, please don't talk. Don't say anything to him. Her tears fell freely, her body trembling in fear. Solomon looked at her, broken and confused. Bola, he said quietly, is this true? Did your mother? Before she could answer, the spirit husband roared, enough. His voice shook the air. I am not through with you yet, Bola. I will return for you soon. The time for our union is drawing near. With those chilling words, the spirit husband vanished into the mist, leaving behind the echo of his laughter, deep and haunting, like thunder fading into the distance. Bola and Solomon jolted awake at the same time, their bodies drenched in sweat, gasping for air. The room was silent except for the ticking clock on the wall. 1 a.m. They turned slowly to face each other, eyes filled with fear, confusion, and disbelief. Solomon's voice broke the silence. So, all this time, he whispered, you've been married to another man. A man I can't even see? The next morning, Solomon sat in his office, his mind heavy and his spirit shattered. The sound of keyboards clacking, phones ringing, and staff murmuring around him felt distant, like echoes from another world. He couldn't concentrate. Every time he blinked, he saw the spirit husband's face from the dream. Tall, handsome, and filled with power. Kola, his closest friend and colleague, walked in with a cup of coffee. Guy, you look like you didn't sleep all night, Kola said, pulling a chair to sit beside him. What's going on? Solomon sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. Kola, he began, his voice low and shaky. Do you believe in things like spirit husbands? Kola frowned, slightly confused. Spirit husband? Solomon, you mean those stories old women tell at night? Brothers, you're too educated to believe in that kind of thing now. Solomon leaned forward, his eyes filled with desperation. It's not a story, Kola. It's happening to me, to my wife. I saw it with my own eyes. Last night, in a dream that felt too real to be a dream. That thing came. He said Bola was his wife. He even said she owed him children, 24 of them. I don't know what to believe anymore. Kola stared at Solomon, his coffee forgotten in his hand. Wait, you saw it too? You and your wife? Solomon nodded slowly. We both saw it at the same time. And the things he said. Kola, he said Bola's mother gave her to him before she was even born. That he's the reason she's successful. That he's the one who gives her everything in life. Kola shifted uneasily. Solomon, this one passed ordinary matter, oh. But what do you want to do now? Solomon's shoulders slumped. His voice cracked as he spoke. That's the problem, Kola. I don't know. I can't even leave her because I love her too much. She's my wife. I just want my wife back, the real Bola. I want to sleep beside her without fearing something unseen. Kola sighed deeply. You need help, my brother, but from someone that understands this kind of thing spiritually. Solomon turned to face Kola. Someone like who? He asked quietly. Kola hesitated for a moment, then said, There's an old woman in my area. People say she used to be a seer, a woman who can speak to both worlds. Maybe she can help you understand what's really going on. Solomon's heart raced. Kola, please, take me there. I can't live like this anymore. Last night, I heard that voice. That voice said he loves my wife and that he spared me only because of her. What if next time he doesn't spare me? Kola looked at his friend, his expression serious now. All right, Solomon. After work tomorrow, we'll go and see her. But brace yourself. Sometimes, the truth you seek is worse than the mystery you fear. That night, while Lego slept under the weight of silence, Kola tossed restlessly on his bed. The air in his room grew cold, unnaturally cold. His curtains fluttered though every window was shut. He sat up, his heart pounding, and then he saw it. At the foot of his bed stood a tall, dark figure, broad shoulders, glowing eyes, and an aura that seemed to command fear itself. The room smelled faintly of smoke and old perfume. The figure stepped closer, its voice deep and calm, yet carrying a weight that froze Kola's blood. So, you think you can help Solomon, the voice said, echoing like thunder in a small tunnel. You dare to interfere in what does not concern you. Kola couldn't move. His lips trembled as he whispered, who are you? The spirit laughed, a sound that made the walls shake. I am the husband of Bola, the only husband she has in this world and the next. Kola's breath caught in his throat. But she's married. Married. The spirit's tone turned sharp. To that man, Solomon, I allowed it, because I pity him. But now you have chosen to meddle. I am warning you. Kola, stay away from Solomon. Stay away from my wife's matter, or your blood will be on your pillow before dawn. Kola covered his face, trembling. Please don't hurt me. The spirit leaned closer, his voice now soft, but deadly. There are only two powers that can take Bola from me. God and her mother, Madame Gold. But Madame Gold is gone. She's dead. And until she rises, Bola remains mine. Forever. With that, the spirit vanished into thin air, leaving behind the faint scent of burning incense. Kola woke up sweating, his bed sheet soaked. He knew it wasn't just a dream, it was a warning. The next morning, Solomon noticed Kola's pale face and trembling hands. But Kola couldn't say a word. He simply whispered, Solomon, this thing is deeper than you think. There's more to Bola's story than we know. And so the mystery deepened. Madame Gold was Bola's mother. But did she ever know that all of this would happen? Did she foresee the ancient covenant that still binds Bola? Why did the spirit husband mention her name? And what connection did she have to Bola's birth and the ancient covenant that still bound her? As the clock in Solomon's house ticked toward 1 a.m. again, a cold wind brushed past the curtains, a sign that the spirit husband's visit was far from over. The journey has just begun. Will Bola truly give birth to all 24 spirit children before she can have an earthly child? Will Solomon ever free his wife from the unseen husband that visits her every night? And what role does the late Madame Gold, Bola's mother, play in all this? Can she still be contacted from beyond the grave? Find out in part 3 of this shocking true life story that happened in Lagos. Do you believe that spirit husband is real? Share your experience or belief in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and check out my other videos on. They're full of mystery, suspense, and true African stories that will leave you speechless. Drop a comment part 3 below if you want to see what happens next.